The movie opens with Remy waiting for a man in his home. The man enters the home with a woman to have a good time, but when he sees Remy, he starts begging and promising that he's gonna pay. But Remy tells him that that's not his job and shoots him with a taser, and then takes out a knife, cuts his abdomen, and retrieves an artificial liver. By 2025, a medical company called the Union has perfected the creation of artificial organs, which have replaced organ transplants. A potential customer can apply for an organ, which is sold on credit at high interest. If a customer is unable to maintain payments after 3 months, a repo man, which in this case is Remy, is sent after the customer to reclaim Union property. The process of repossession is bloody and brutal and often results in the death of the customer. Remy joined this company with his best friend Jake, and they both love this job. But Remy's wife Carol wants him to change his job and get into the sales position. This would mean that he'd get to spend more time with her and his son Peter. One day, when Remy is having a house party, Jake is notified about a customer who's been missing for 6 months without paying. He's getting brought up to him, so he decides to do the job right in front of Remy's house. To do the job fast, he uses a kitchen knife to cut the guy's body, but Carol still sees him doing it. This gets her extremely mad. She takes Peter and leaves. She gives an ultimatum to Remy that either he leaves his job or she's not coming back. Without much choice, Remy decides to change his job, but Jake convinced him to do 2 more jobs that same night. They first go to a ship filled with people with overdue payments. The people gather together so that they can defend each other against the Union, but they're no match for Jake and Remy, who take them out and retrieve the organs. After that, Remy goes alone to do his last job. He travels to the home of a music producer that he's a fan of. The guy knows what's going to happen, so he asks Remy to help him finish his last song. Remy helps him out, and then the guy gets ready to be killed. Since Remy's taking out the guy's heart, he first wants to stop it. He brings out his defibrillator and charges it, but when he makes contact with the guy, the defibrillator malfunctions and he gets electrocuted and knocked out. He later wakes up in the hospital with Jake and his boss Frank beside him. They inform him that he almost died of the shock, and then reveal to him that in order to save his life, they had to replace his heart with an artificial one. Remy freaks out and he tries to remove the artificial heart, but as soon as he starts losing blood again, he faints. Remy is then fitted with the new heart, and since the heart's very expensive, he agrees to continue his high-paying current job. After he recovers, he goes out for his first job. He knocks out his target and takes out his knife, but when he goes to cut the guy, his heart starts beating fast and he hesitates. He starts thinking of the guy's family and he couldn't bring himself to kill him. This happens a couple of times, so he gets switched to the sales team, but it turns out he's horrible at sales because he's too honest and scares the potential customers. Remy is now behind in his payment and he only has a small time to pay. Jake takes him to another place where a lot of unpaid customers are hiding. He tases them and brings him 2 people. He then tells him to finish the job, but as soon as Jake leaves, Remy releases the people. While looking around the area, Remy runs into Beth, whom he knows from a bar he used to go to. She was a singer there, but now she's on the street overdosing on drugs. Remy takes her to a motel room and stays with her until she goes through withdrawal and gets better. Remy only has 1 day left, so he decides to go to the company and erase himself and Beth from the system. Beth is also a customer of Union, and she has a lot of organs, including her eyes and ears that she hasn't paid off. But his plan quickly fails when he gets caught by Jake trying to get into the system. Remy then returns his taser to Jake and leaves. That night, Remy sneaks into his son's room and says goodbye. He then returns to Beth, and they both run away together. A few months have passed, and Remy and Beth have not been found. The couple have also fallen for each other and are living a happy life. Remy has also become a writer and spends most of his time doing that. But one day, this peaceful time is disturbed by a repo man who has tracked down Remy. The repo man enters the home and finds Remy alone, but as he approaches him, he falls through a hole that Remy has covered in the damaged floor, crashing to the floor below, unconscious. Then, Beth, who was hiding behind the door, also falls when the floor collapses under her, which ends up injuring her knee. The repo man then starts waking up and he takes out his taser, so Remy kills him by dropping his typewriter on his head. Using the repo man's vehicle, Remy sneaks back into his former workplace. He then steals the company's mascot costume and makes his way to Frank's office. He then tries to force Frank to remove him from the system, but Frank reveals to him that after Remy's failed attempt last time, all accounts have been moved to headquarters. Remy then tases Frank and steals 2 signal jammers from the office. He and Beth then go to the airport. They manage to pass through the security using the jammers, but just when they think they're past the hard part, Beth's leg starts bleeding, which gets noticed by the guards and she's taken to the medical room. While in there, someone recognizes Remy, so now he has to kill off the guards and run away from the airport. With Beth's leg still hurt, they can't go far, so she takes him to her old friend's place. Her friend is a black market dealer for organs, so she's hoping that he has a knee replacement, but it turns out that he doesn't. So he sends her to a surgeon who turns out to be a 9-year-old girl. Remy is hesitant to let the little girl operate on Beth, but they don't really have a choice. So to his surprise, the girl does an amazing job and fixes Beth in no time. Meanwhile, Jake has been assigned to repossess Remy's heart, and he's tracked them down. Jake brings a whole strike team and mostly takes out the residents in the area. He also chases down Remy and Beth in her friend's apartment. Remy and Jake then come face to face and start talking. Jake tells him that he was only trying to help him and accidentally reveals that he is the one who rigged the defibrillator so Remy wouldn't leave the job. Remy can't believe what he's hearing and sucker punches Jake. An intense fight breaks between them, which Remy starts losing. Jake beats him up and picks up a heavy steel chain to go to knock out Remy. But just before he hits him, Beth tases him in the back and he falls unconscious. Remy and Beth escape the raid and join the survivors, but when Remy sees how many people died, he realizes there's no way out. He decides that the only way to end it is to break into the Union headquarters and erase everyone from the system. The next morning, Remy and Beth meet up with Carol and Peter in a train station. Remy then hands his finished book to Peter. The two then abduct Frank as he's going out of his office, and they use him to get into the headquarters. From there, they try to rush into the server room, but they get stopped by guards that they have to take out. And after a hard and intense battle, they manage to kill all the guards and make it into the server room. But when they enter, Remy sees that the server room doesn't have a computer to hack. It only has a scanner. He realizes that the only way to remove themselves from the system is to repo their organs. Remy and Beth cut themselves open in order to use the scanner internally, clearing their accounts. Compared to Beth, Remy's scan was easy. But unfortunately for Beth, she has a lot of parts, and cutting her multiple times almost kills her. Finally, when they're on her last organ, Frank and Jake enter the server room. Jake then asks Remy if she's worth all the pain that he puts himself through, to which Remy responds yes. Frank isn't touched by the sentiment though, and he orders Jake to kill Remy, but Jake kills him instead. Remy completes all the scanning, but then the server demands he enters the organ in a receiver. Jake then puts 2 bombs in the receiver, and when it blows up, it destroys all the servers, wiping all customer accounts from the system. A few months later, Remy is on a beach hanging out with Beth and Jake. It seems like they've all retired and are enjoying their life. Remy turns to look at Jake, but suddenly the background starts flickering and their voices start disappearing. This is when it's revealed that Remy is actually back in Beth's friend's home, and that Jake actually knocked him out with the chain, but he accidentally used too much force and damaged Remy's brain. Feeling guilty, Jake bought a neural network machine that will put patients in a fantasy world. Their real body stays in a coma, but they can live out their lives in a perfect world. Jake has also paid the full payment for Remy's heart so that he can live, and he sends him to a safe place. Beth is still alive but unconscious. One of the guards asks Jake what they should do with her, and he tells him he'll deal with her. Jake then finds Remy's book and he smiles. The movie ends with Frank giving his sales pitch to other potential customers. Remy almost got away with saving the world. But let's be honest, for the job that he had as a repo man, this was probably karma. Do you agree with me, or do you have a different take on this movie? Let me know in the comment section below. If you found this movie recap interesting, then make sure to give this video a like. And hey, if you want to see another recap, then click the video on screen now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, I'll see you in the next movie recap.